Hello and welcome to BibleStudyMinistry.com. Today we'll be doing a chapter study on Daniel chapter 4 in our chapter study series of the book of Daniel. A quick note, I know we've been getting a lot more emails with questions. I want to just say bear with us. Sometimes it takes me a little time to get back. There's only a couple of us that are equipped to answer questions here that work on this website. So, just have a little patience and we will get back to everybody. But let's get into this chapter study. And we will begin at verse 1 and read our way down. I've already put some notes in it, and you'll see the notes as well. So let's get going. Verse 1 says, Nebuchadnezzar the king, unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. So this appears to be a letter written to Nebuchadnezzar or by Nebuchadnezzar. But you look what was ascribed to him, or what he ascribed to himself. He is the king to all peoples, nations, languages that dwell on earth. He and his sons are powerful men in the earth. A lot of power was given to them, and we will find out who gives all power to mankind here on the earth as we read this complete chapter. Let's go to verse 2. It says, I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God have wrought towards me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house, and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. So this is a letter or a memoir from Nebuchadnezzar, and he is telling of another event that took place with him concerning a dream. Now, he was thriving in his life. Everything was going well, and as he went to sleep, he had a dream that greatly troubled his conscience. We'll continue at verse 6. It says, Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians and the astrologers and the Chaldeans and the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. So again, as in chapter 2 of Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar calls in all his scribes, magicians, soothsayers, and astrologers, but these men again could not bring the interpretation of the dream. Why? Because the dream came from God above, and they would have had to know God in order to receive the dream to give to the king. So that is why they could not interpret the dream for him. So we'll go again at verse 8. It says, But at the last Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God, in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying, Lastly, Daniel, the Judean Israelite, whose people are captive in Babylon at this time, at the time of this story or this recount of this event, came in to the king, ascribed the spirit of the to the king, who was ascribed the spirit of the holy gods are in him. So Nebuchadnezzar learned that whatever is God out there is with Daniel, but he hadn't quite accepted or known that it was the God of Israel. You keep seeing him use this phrase, Daniel had the spirit of the holy gods, but he did not say Daniel has the holy God. The reason we come to this conclusion is because Nebuchadnezzar says the spirit of the holy gods instead of the spirit of the holy God is with Daniel. So we'll continue on in verse 9. It says, O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee, tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. If he knew that Daniel had the spirit of the holy gods, why didn't he just call Daniel to begin with? It's kind of, I guess he was trying to give his guys another shot. Verse 10 says, Thus were the visions of mine head in my bed. I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The king begins to recount the dream to Daniel, and he begins by saying, Behold, a very tall tree was in the middle of the earth. In verse 11, the tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of the earth. Now everyone on the earth could see this tree as the height reached heaven, and the tree was very strong and tall. Verse 12, the leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. So this tree took care of everyone, and it was a fruitful tree. I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and a holy one come down from heaven. He cried aloud and said thus, Hew down the tree and cut off his branches, shake off his leaves and scatter his fruit. Oof. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches. See, this is the concerning part to the king. This is what concerned the king most of this dream, that a watcher, which we will say is the angel, and a holy one, which we'll say is the Messiah or the Christ, Jesus, come down from heaven, and the Holy One commanded that the tree be cut down as well as cut off the branches, shake off the leaves, and scatter the fruit, and tell all the beasts to move from under it, because timber, this tree is going down. It is coming down. So everybody that's in it, get out. There's at the end time, the times that we're living in right now, Jesus tells the angels to tell everybody that is in this great harlot church that is pretending to be the church of God. He says, everybody that's in it, come out, because he is going to knock this tree down and that church down. So the same thing is being warned. God is such a fair God. He will always give his servants and everybody a chance to get away. But let's continue. Verse 15 says, Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts of the grass of the earth, beasts in the grass of the earth. See, God allowed the root to remain in the earth and allowed the tree to have a portion with the beasts in the grass of the earth. This is kind of a gruesome story for the tree. You would not want to be this tree, except for the fact that the tree will be restored. So let's see, verse 16 says, Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over. So in addition, the watcher and the Holy One changed his heart, or his mindset from that of a human to that of an animal, and let it be that way for 7 years. That is a big wow. It's a big wow, because God can make you go crazy for just like you put something in the microwave and you 7 minutes defrost, and you leave, you go watch TV, you go run an errand, and beep, 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 the bell rings off, and you go get the food out the microwave. The same way the Lord operated. If you don't, you start go crazy, he'll put you on a timer, like he did this for Nebuchadnezzar. Verse 17 says, This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set it up over it the beasts of men, and set up over it the beasts of and to abase men. Excuse me, this cursive is killing me. I'm sorry. And set it up over it the bases of men. So this was done to remind mankind, remind all of us that the Most High, even though he's not here presently in your life, he doesn't walk into the room like I'm reading this off of the screen and with the microphone. He's not going to walk in the room and say, excuse me, I need you. But he's still orchestrating everything that's going down here. He didn't allow Barack Obama, the president of the United States, to get into office on accident. And he was sitting in heaven, slamming his fist on the table. How did the heck did he beat John McCain the first time? And how the heck did he beat, I forget who he beat the second time. God doesn't do that. He knew that Barack Obama would be in office. Both secessions. But this was done to remind mankind that the Most High still rules in the kingdom of men. The Most High gives to whomsoever he will. He sets up men and he takes men down. Now, I'm sure you noticed in the beginning mentioned this matter is by the order or mandate of the watchers, the angels, and demand by the word of the holy ones. So Jesus told us in the New Testament to ask of his Father in his name, and he will give it. If we ask something in the Father's name, he will give it. I want to say that's St. John 14, but I'm not 100% sure, but nevertheless, you may be familiar with that quote. Jesus also said that only God is good, and he said this in reference to when the man called Jesus good master, while Jesus was in the man form or man body. So he said, hey, don't call me good right now because I'm a man like you. But only those who become God are good. So when Jesus went back to being God, there would have been two gods. So we can just say two gods because God is a uniplural word. So also in Isaiah, God said, I dwell with him, noting another holy being. I emphasize this so we are not too confused or thrown off by the scripture saying holy ones. So remember, Nebuchadnezzar is the one that's recounting this event, but even so, it falls in good parallel with the scriptures. Okay, so we'll move on to verse 18. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now, thou, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. Verse 19, then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonied for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belteshazzar answered and said, my lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemies. See, the king finished and asked Daniel to tell him what the dream meant, and this time around the interpretation came to Daniel right away. But Daniel stood there astonished for about 1 hour, troubled by the interpretation of the dream. Daniel did not want to report a negative dream to the king. The king gave him permission to speak ill of the king if the dream was bad for the king. And so Daniel told him that only the enemies of Nebuchadnezzar and the haters of him will like or benefit from this dream's interpretation. As servants of God, sometimes we have to deliver bad news to people. Sometimes you have to tell people the truth so that they have good understanding on what's going on. So verse 20, the tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong. This now Daniel is telling him what the dream is, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowl of the heaven had their habitation. It is thou, O king, thou art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown and reacheth unto heaven, and thy dominion to the earth, to the end of the earth. So the tree in the king's dream was indeed Nebuchadnezzar himself, as Daniel began. Daniel said that the king had grown and become very strong with greatness in all the earth. Verse 23, and whereas the king saw a watcher and a holy one come down from heaven, saying, hew the tree down and destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which is come upon my lord the king, that they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. And they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. So regarding a watcher and the Holy One coming down from heaven, Daniel reports that the Most High and his watcher will come down upon the king, and they will drive him into the field, live like a beast for 7 years. Times is a year in the Bible, time, and then if you multiply times, then you get 2, and then after that you have to put a number in front of it. But until the king realizes that man is ruled by the Most High. You see, rulers are given governorship by the Most High. God can take it from them as a parent takes a toy or a little candy away from a little baby. I know a lot of people who have different philosophies and metaphysical theory, where one that the world is really popular with is like the law of attraction. So whatever you dwell on, you can attract to yourself. But I can read scriptures to you where the Lord said he can even influence or control the thoughts of your mind. So even though you're trying to focus and attract the things that you want to your life, if the Lord has the fix on you, you will not be able to at least focus on it. You really have to have a strong amount of faith. And you can understand this from the story with Pharaoh and Joseph. Pharaoh watched his country destroyed because the fix was in his mind. So we have to be aware and conscious of these things. Verse 26 says, and whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee after thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. So the stump that remained was to ensure the king that his kingdom will be there after he comes to his senses, or comes to the understanding that the heavens are in control of what's going on in the kingdom of man. Mankind is not down here doing all that they want, because if they were, there would be none of us left, and then we would have killed each other by now, because most of us think like animals. And animals fight until the day one dies and one continues on. Let's keep reading. Verse 27 says, wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thy iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. All this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar. So the last counsel Daniel gives to the king is to allow his counsel to be acceptable to the king, and that he should break away from his sins by doing righteously and to show mercy to the poor. The Lord may shorten the sentence if it be so. So at verse 29 it says, at the end of 12 months he walked into the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spake and said, is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom of by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty? There's a lot of my's in here. 12 months later, the king was in his palace and had the urge to boast about how great the kingdom of Babylon was, that he built with his power and was full of honor and majesty. Self-boasting is not a good look, especially in the eyes of the Lord. So while the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee, And they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. So Nebuchadnezzar could not even finish his boasting before a voice from heaven dropped on him, telling him he was finished. And so was his kingdom at the moment that he, quote unquote, built. He was told and reminded of the dream he had a year ago that Daniel interpreted for him. And he will be driven from his kingdom and will live with the beasts of the field. Verse 33, the same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird claws. See, people do not believe the Lord works fast, but this occurred within the same hour of his boasting and lifting himself up. God abased him immediately and drove him out. And in addition, it says that he ate grass like the ox. His body was wet from the dew of heaven, the morning dew that comes down on the ground. That means he was out in the open field like a homeless person. And his hairs were grown like eagle feathers. Nebuchadnezzar was a Gentile, and a Gentile, according to Genesis chapter 10, were the sons of Japhet, who today would be well represented, most really represented as the white European race. And we can get a good description of this by this hair like eagle's feathers description. Usually the Bible describes hair as woolly or, in locks. Ezekiel was grabbed by the hair of his locks, the Nazarene are growing the locks. But feathers of an eagle is certainly different. And this just helps us identify or be sure that Nebuchadnezzar's Babylonian was separate from the original Babylonian of Nimrod's era. The former were from the children of Ham, and the latter, Nebuchadnezzar, from the children of Japhet. Verse 34 says, and at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and my understanding returned unto me, and I blessed the Most High. I praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. So after 7 years had passed of his madness, the king came back into his right mind, and the spirit that the Lord put over him was dismissed, and the king blessed the Most High God and praised and honored God who lives forever, and has his dominion over the kingdom of man. And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou? So no one can ask the Lord, what are you doing? Nobody can say, get your hand off of me. We just can't. King Nebuchadnezzar was surely humbled by God, and then Nebuchadnezzar also humbled himself when he came back to his right mind. Verse 37 says, at the same time my reason returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom mine honor and brightness returned unto me, and my counselors and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added unto me. So everything he had before returned to him, and because of this, the kingdom needed his fierce rulership and sought him and reestablished him to his post as king over Babylon. And he had to get his reason back first before this happened. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth and his ways judgment, and those that walk in pride he is able to abase. So from this time forward, Nebuchadnezzar is serving the God of Israel, who is truth, judgment, and able to abase the proud. This is Daniel chapter 4. What you should pull from this certainly is that God is in control. You have the free will to make an impact on your personal life. Solomon told you in Ecclesiastes that whatever you enjoy doing, do it with all your might. Do it with all your strength. But you're not going to alter the plan. I don't care how hard you think about it, how hard you plan it. You're not going to alter the plan of God. God is going to have a false prophet sit on this earth. God is going to have this false prophet rule this earth for 3.5 years. God is going to conjure all nations to come to the valley of Jehoshaphat and be destroyed there. And then God is going to come down, resurrect the dead, and bring up the righteous living and come back down to the earth and reestablish his rule right here on earth. And nobody living can change that plan. The only plan you can change is your own plan of participating in the recovery system of our brothers and sisters who are lost in this world by showing them the light, which is the Father through Jesus Christ. So that is Daniel chapter 4. Remember that even though God is not here in the present earth as physically ruling from Jerusalem, he is still orchestrating the ways and the rulership of this world. So thank you for studying with us. Be sure to look into other Bible studies we have on our website. And while you're on our website, join our newsletter. The newsletter emblem is on the right hand side of the website, or you can join through the pop-up that comes up when you come to the website for the first time. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have some videos on there that we think you will find very interesting. We also have books that are certainly worthy reads for Christians trying to beef up their scriptural study knowledge. We have the 7 Great Lies All Christians Believe, Even the Good Ones. And we also have our new Kindle book, which is Jesus the Unknown God? We find people really get a lot from these, and we're sure you will also. So thank you again. Please tell people about us by using the social media buttons. And thank you for visiting BibleStudyMinistry.com. God bless you in the mighty name of Jesus.